Hello, I'm Grant Morrison, and tonight we're going to be talking about Big Shot on Disney Plus. We're going to be talking about John Stamos and how he's created by Jack Kirby, and he's one of the new gods in the Marvel Universe. All right, sorry guys, I'm just bald. I'm Anchorpete. I shaved off my beard and my hair. I was like, who's the cool bald guy? Grant Morrison is a favorite.
Oh, bravo, sir.
I apologize to the people that are listening on the podcast because, like, you have no idea what the hell I'm even talking about. But what's up? I'm Anchor Pete. I'm covering up my bald dome right now, and I'm with my good buddy Brian. He's still laughing over there.
Oh man, that was amazing.
Thank you. Oh my God, I think I killed him.
Okay.
All right.
You broke me. Okay.
All right, good. So, guys, we are here for episode 5 of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I'm Anchor Pete. This is Brian, and we are now on our new channel, Ramblings from the Rod Pod. So if you guys haven't subscribed to Ramblings from the Rod Pod on YouTube, please go there and do so now, because we want you guys to be a part of this discussion with us. Brian, how you doing tonight, man?
Doing good.
Yeah. Guys, this is going to be a spoiler-filled discussion, so you've been warned. If you haven't watched the show, go do so and then come join us afterwards. So, Brian, with that spoiler warning out of the way, my question for you is, do you like boat-fixing montages or shield-throwing montages better?
Oh man. This is gonna be a lot of left field here, but I'm gonna say I like boat fixing montages. I don't know. I mean, I got some like Forrest Gump vibes out of that today, you know?
Yes. I actually really liked when Bucky came by and used his little cyborg hand to pick up the part of the boat.
Yeah.
Put it on the ground. That was pretty cool, yeah. But I did love me some Sam practicing with the shield, too.
Yes, I was so happy we finally saw that scene because I remember last week I was saying, I didn't know how it was going to fit in, but that's how it fits in.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I have to bring it up. Like, I'm watching this and I don't understand how anyone can throw that. I know this is a comic book TV show, whatever, and you're not really supposed to be able to do things like that. But it's just like they're just throwing this really heavy thing around, and it's just bouncing perfectly every time. I actually really appreciated later on when Sam was training and he was like messing up. And I'm like, that has to have taken like a lot of practice, you know?
Oh yeah. Have they ever done like a Mythbusters where like the person throws the shield and it like bounces back? Have they ever done something like that?
Oh, they probably have. We should look that up.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it did seem kind of silly, right? When he's like throwing the shield and bouncing back, catching it, because it was like that's Captain America's whole gimmick, right? Is that he can throw a shield and it bounces off things. There's really no other superhero character like that, right?
Yeah, and I think too, it's important to note that in Age of Ultron, they actually show that Tony gave Steve some kind of like magnetic component to it, so it would return to his arm. But I mean, not that he needed that, because he was, an expert at throwing it immediately, practically,
Yeah. And the shield, even though it's like so practical, what we're talking about in this episode, it's like the most symbolic it's ever been in the entire season, right? Because literally the very first scene of this episode is 3 characters fighting over that shield, right? Yeah. And what did you think of that fight between John Walker?
I got some major end of Civil War vibes from that with the the Cap, Bucky, and Tony fight. So it was a cool thing to see, and things definitely got a little heated there.
Yeah, that was like Marvel with like the Winter Soldier and like you said, Civil War. It has that sort of that crazy kind of mixed martial arts kind of fighting that you don't see in every Marvel movie. But it really shows up in Winter Soldier. And it was interesting because, like, with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the show, they kind of started to work that in there a little bit, too. Like, that kind of martial arts, like fighting and shooting and all that kind of stuff. But they dropped it eventually. And I just think that that's so cool. Like, is that kind of influenced by, like, The Raid, you think?
Man, I love The Raid.
That's why I brought it up, because I know that you love it.
It's possible. I mean, I don't know. I mean, there are a lot of shows that have that more aggressive MMA kind of stuff. I mean, it's blown up in popularity over the last decade or so. So I think, it looks really cool. It's different. It's fast paced and it's exciting. So I mean, it definitely works in a lot of these. It's a perfect thing to put in a comic book movie.
Yeah, yeah. It really fits that sort of Captain America, that modern Captain America kind of storytelling, right? And the modern version of Captain America, even though like Mark Waid's comics are really awesome and he did a lot for the character, it's really that Ed Brubaker run on which all of this Captain America stuff is based on.
Yeah.
You know, and it's funny, like one of the things that was on Twitter that was going by was that like Ed Brubaker, who he created like the Winter Soldier character essentially, right?
Yeah.
Like he makes more money off of his little small appearance in the Winter Soldier than he does for like creating the character. Did you see that?
Yeah, I said I saw that he kind of it's kind of like a mixed bag for him, that he's happy that the character is being used, but he's not really getting the credit or compensation that he feels he's due.
Yeah, that's the way.
That's a weird gray area too. I mean, he didn't. I mean, he evolved the story of an existing character into something that was very interesting.
Yeah.
But he didn't necessarily create the character, so I mean, that's a really weird gray area too.
That's right.
But
that's right.
That being said, too, I mean, I'm not so sure that Marvel really takes care of, or even either of the major two companies take care of their creators. I think it's work for hire, you know. So
yeah, I think pretty much any character that's made for Marvel or DC, they own the rights to them, and so people don't get credit or money like when they're in movies and stuff, and the movies are making millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah, you know? I feel like the lone exception here is like is Superman and Batman, who you will see those names associated with them. Which I can't remember.
Bill Finger for Batman, Bill Finger and Bob Kane, right?
Yeah, Bill Finger and Bob Kane for Batman, and Bill Finger was only more recent too. It was always Bob Kane,
right? Right.
What are the two names?
Schuster, Siegel and Schuster, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but you always see those names there anytime those characters pop up. So they're getting a cut of something.
Yeah. So if you guys are getting aroused by our comic book deep cuts over here, we got some stuff in store for you tonight. Especially when we tied in with some Seinfeld cameos too. Oh my god!
Yes.
Yeah. We got to save that for the end though, because that's sure. The gold right there.
Sure.
So all right, so we got this battle. They're all racing for the shield, and in a pretty brutal move, Falcon goes ahead and puts on his like thrusters, and he like pushes John Walker's arm. That was so brutal.
Yeah. It almost was like trying to remove the glove off of Thanos in a way.
Yes.
And obviously, John gets his arm broken, which is, probably pretty hard to do for someone with a super soldier serum,
Yeah, hell yeah. They were really just teaming up and wailing on him.
Yeah.
And then pretty much like the rest of the episode is just the fallout from that battle.
Yes, fallout and setup. So after that, it was a little slower, but I mean, I think, you can't have, high octane every week, so this is going to set up for a big climax next week.
Yeah. And so basically, the shield, Bucky gets the shield away from John Walker. He gives it to Sam Wilson, and now Sam has it in his possession. But John Walker just shredded his wings. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, I wasn't either. But it makes sense though, and I mean, because we knew that a Sam Wilson Captain America costume was coming. Yeah. And what better way to introduce it?
Yeah. It's such a like Transformers or like action figure type thing where it's like, okay, we're destroying the previous one, so now we got to get a new one, and a comic book thing as well.
Yeah.
So with the fallout, John Walker goes and he has to do a debriefing or a hearing in front of a bunch of, I guess, like members of the military, and he starts to kind of have a meltdown. His wife's there. She tries to console him in the hallway, and that's when we have our glorious cameo. How did you feel when you saw Elaine Bennis from Seinfeld show up in the Marvel universe?
It's funny that I of course I'll always recognize her as Elaine, but at the same time, I went to Veep first because I'm like, oh, they're in a courthouse building, so it's the vice president.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there have been plenty of castings that they've done that are very out of left field, and I mean, to be perfectly honest, I'm not super familiar with that version of the character that she is portraying. So I mean, maybe it could work. Who knows?
Oh well, I actually have some detailed notes right here.
All righty, let's hear them.
Yes.
Can Grant Morrison tell us these notes? No, don't do that.
Oh yeah, no, please don't. Yeah, that was a pretty horrible Scottish accent I did. So and I'm Scottish, by the way, so I can do that. So that character, right? Her name is so friggin' drawn out. I don't even think I wrote it down.
It is Contessa Valentina Allegra Di Fontaine.
There you go. Thank you. And she first appeared in Jim Steranko's run of Nick Fury, which is like a real classic Nick Fury run. And it was in Strange Tales. It wasn't even its own like Nick Fury comic. Strange Tales number 168, and it goes all the way back to 1968 is when she first showed up. And there's this real infamous sex scene that has her and Nick Fury getting it on, right? And what happens is it's a bunch of silent panels where there's no narration, there's no talking, word bubbles or whatever. And the thing is, because of the comics code, they actually had to change the last panel of the sequence, which was them kind of like embracing. And so what they did was they did a close-up of Nick Fury's gun in its holster to be like, like implied. I thought that was brilliant. I remember hearing about that years ago too.
I have not heard that story before. That's very interesting.
Yeah. The Jim Steranko Nick Fury stuff is like classic. And I'm going to bring up a little tangent just for my wife's sake too. And she's not even here to hear it, which is bullshit. But in the movie True Romance, there's this sequence in the beginning with Christian Slater, right, where he's talking to what I forget the actress name real quick, but he's a comic book store worker, right, and he's talking about this exact romance with Nick Fury and the Countess.
Oh wow!
And, yeah, and it's so cool because it's like I guess Tarantino read Nick Fury, and so the Jim Steranko Nick Fury is just like this classic, amazing run, and I think it really influenced comics a lot. So anyway. She became a member of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s Femme Force. They had a Femme Force team. And do you know that whole Jonathan Hickman Secret Warriors book where it was like Nick Fury? So she's in that, and she becomes a member of Leviathan, which is like this group that's like infiltrated Hydra. And it's like this ancient kind of messed up group. Yes. So I think that's kind of cool that she's part of that.
Yeah, no, that's I did read some of that. I think I read more of I didn't read as much of the more Shield based Secret Warriors than I did with the kind of the Cap version of it.
Oh, okay.
Was Hawkeye leader of the team, whatever it was. But yeah, I mean, I'm more familiar with. I mean, I don't think we've said it yet, but Madam Hydra. I'm more familiar with the Viper version of that.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I think that what threw me off, right, is because on Twitter it said Madam Hydra was trending, right? Yeah. But that's really because of like Veep, right? Like Madam President.
No, she wasn't. She went by Madam Hydra. She succeeded Viper as Madam Hydra temporarily.
Oh, okay.
There are 3 versions of Madam Hydra. I don't remember the third one, but she was a version of Madam Hydra. That's why that was trending.
Oh, okay.
But like I said, I'm more familiar with the Viper version of Madam Hydra. That's the only one I really know. So
yeah, and is that because of that Earth's Mightiest Heroes cartoon?
No, I've seen her. I mean, I've read books with her in it already. But she was in that too. Yeah.
Cartoon. It's so good. Yeah, it's funny, right? Because like Twitter just totally ruined that shit for me. It said Madam Hydra, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's who that character is going to be. And I asked you about it, but I had no idea it was going to be Julia Louis-Dreyfus. I was like, what?
Yeah, I don't want to. I mean, we kind of have that rule where we don't talk about anything until the show. So, but we did touch on that a little bit today.
Look at this. We got a little surprise guest appearance from the man who's probably watching this show right now. We always got to show off our shirts too, by the way.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he's watching Joe Bob, which everyone else is watching right now. But Danny, thanks for joining us. Jay Peterman is the power broker. Okay, yeah, I like that. So who would be would Newman be MODOK then?
Absolutely.
Well, that's AIM though. But yeah. So anyway, what the hell are we talking about? Danny, you threw me off. Madam Hydra.
Yeah, we got through Julia Louis-Dreyfus talking to John Walker and handing him a seemingly blank business card and saying, foreshadowing that the smartest thing you're going to ever do is answer the phone when I call you.
Right. So the hell is that?
I've read some theories that this could be some kind of twist on Thunderbolts in some way. I'm not really sure though. I mean, this is a very future setup kind of scene. This is not going to play out in this next episode.
Yeah,
I don't think.
Did you hear that she was actually supposed to be in Black Widow first?
Yes, I did hear that as well. Yes, so I'll be very curious to see if she is in fact in it.
Yeah, that's interesting, right? Because then it's like, what scene would she have been in Black Widow? And then like, I feel like they might with the shows have that kind of Netflix Marvel kind of mentality where it's like some characters are mainly in the shows and other characters are in the movies. I know they said they weren't going to do that, but the fact that she was going to be in Black Widow makes me think that she's a much bigger character.
I feel like we're going to see more of her in a larger capacity. And I think I read somewhere too that someone was kind of thinking about that. Was this like especially considering the character's relationship with Nick Fury, was this like a reverse, Nick Fury recruiting Tony Stark for the Avengers and Iron Man 1 kind of thing?
I see.
Thunderbolts.
Oh, that's cool. I like that. That's cool. It could be that, and then another thing.
It doesn't like totally go along with established comic continuity. It's very different, but I mean, it wouldn't be the first time that they've twisted things around or changed things to just make it work for the movies, or just make it a little bit different, so we're not just watching the exact thing we read.
Yeah, that's a very good point. What about the whole Skrull angle? Because like one thing about this character too is that during Secret Invasion, she was one of the major characters that have been replaced by a Skrull.
That is a great point. But what would a Skrull need with John Walker? Yeah. Interesting. I mean, like I always ask every time, like, what do these shows lead to? What do we see next out of this? What is the point of this show?
Yeah.
And I've guessed a few times Secret Invasion with from plot points from this show and from WandaVision. So that's an excellent point.
Yeah. Well, I thought he was completely gone, but since we're doing spoilers, they showed him working on a shield, like his own version of the shield too, right?
Yes. And I think we will see him again in the episode. That does not feel like something that's going to happen and just happen later on. Like we're going to see him next episode, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know what capacity, but it should be interesting.
Yeah, I feel like he might show up in New York and he might fight Carly and the other Flag Smashers, and there's probably going to be a big showdown, and Bucky's going to be there, and Falcon or Captain America now, Sam Wilson, Captain America, and and basically that's going to, and maybe that he'll get arrested or something, and then maybe she'll get him out of jail, like maybe the Countess will get him out of jail.
Could be, yeah. That's actually a really good idea.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because we're talking about Nick Fury too, and so I think it is possible he might be connected to her in the MCU, and they might have that history they have in the comics. And I looked up Julia Louis-Dreyfus's age, and she's 60. And then Samuel L. Jackson, you know how old he is?
He's like mid-70s, right?
He's 72.
Wow.
I was like, dude, that's crazy, right?
Yeah.
So they're kind of around the same age where they could be dating and stuff at one point.
Yeah. They always have that fancy de-aging technology too, so.
That's right. So let me ask you this. Would he have gotten with her pre-Captain Marvel or post-Captain Marvel?
Oh, I'm going to say post-Captain Marvel.
I think so too. Yeah.
When he started getting into the more clandestine stuff after that, because it seemed like that's where he started kind of, turning into the Nick Fury we know from the Iron Man 1 and so on. Yeah,
good point. So, I did write down her name, Contessa. Good. And then I also wrote down Mama Danya because we would never remember her name.
Yes, Mama Danya.
Wow, what did you think of Zemo going back to Sokovia?
I kept saying, I wasn't sure who the ultimate villain was in the show, and I'm almost glad. I'm kind of glad to see that he's kind of been taken off the table in a sense, Yeah. Like I don't think we're going to see Zemo again, as being a factor in the show. Maybe there'll be some kind of tag scene where it just shows exactly what happened to him. But obviously, the Dora Milaje took him back to Wakanda to face his crimes for killing King T'Chaka.
Mm-hmm. Wait, didn't they take him to the raft?
Oh, the raft. They said the raft. That's right. Is that the first mention we've had of the raft?
No. The raft, as far as I know, is in Civil War, right? Because isn't it that?
Oh, that's where. Okay, yes, you're right. Yes.
So with the raft, though, I think like we should bring this up, like, because we're in like full speculation mode tonight. But like, when there's the New Avengers comic, which was kind of like what made the Avengers really popular in comics, and you had a team that had like Luke Cage, Wolverine, Spider-Man, Captain America, Iron Man, and then the Sentry, whatever. Yeah. This team, it started when the raft, when someone broke into the raft and like essentially released all the criminals. So that might be the next time we see Zemo, is that there might be like a big breakout at the raft.
Interesting. Yeah, that would be definitely cool to see. Yeah. The raft was in like the harbor in New York, though. I don't think the raft is anywhere near there in the MCU.
No, it's like in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean or something.
Seems like it, yeah.
Yeah. So let's see what else we got. We have Sharon Carter. She's calling Batroc. That's kind of interesting, don't you think?
Yeah. So I'm not 100% convinced that she is the power broker, even though I've said it many times in the past. So it still seems that it still could be they're leading us toward thinking that, and there's not. They say that she was responsible for the mission that Batroc was on in the first episode. She funded that operation. The interesting thing here is that now, if she's the power broker who was previously hunting down Carly Morgenthau, now she's helping her, which, I mean, that's a little odd, I think.
Yeah.
And the only way I can resolve that, in my own personal headcanon, is that she's kind of like decided that, okay, well, I don't have super soldier serum anymore. I don't have the guy who makes it anymore. I have to cut my losses and make the most profit out of this as I can. Which could make sense, I guess, but I don't 100% buy it. And then also, I mean, I don't know. At the very end of the episode, you see, the GRC is having a debate about, relocating displaced citizens. Right. And you see the power go out, and you see someone walk in the room, and it's clearly a man walking in the room. And I'm wondering, like, is that actually the power broker? Is it some like front for the power broker, and Sharon's the real power broker?
Okay.
But I can't totally dismiss that, and I still think that it would be like it would. I don't think it would be good for them to just introduce a different person as the power broker at this point.
Yeah. Okay.
Out of nowhere.
That's interesting that it's like a man. It wasn't like shaped like Carly's friend, right? The guy that has like the long hair.
No, I feel like it was a guy in a suit. Like somebody like turned the lights off and like for this person to walk in that room. I feel like Carly and her men were all outside.
Okay.
So, and I'm kind of wondering too, like even, there's a few ways this can go. I mean, maybe that's not even, they're not all on the same side there,
Yeah. Could the person inside be like Bucky, like already kind of waiting for them to show up, or like?
No, I think they just found out about it, and they have to make their way there. Okay. Because Sam just finds out about it, and he's gonna call Bucky, and then they're gonna go meet there.
Okay.
Or do they talk at the end?
Sam and Bucky?
Yeah.
I don't think so. Sam talks to his friend. He talks to Joaquin.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also nice little nod with the old wings. Keep them.
Yeah. He's not gonna have that weird origin that I was talking about with the vampire bird or anything like that. Yeah. And I actually like Joaquin. He said some funny things this episode.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah, I like him too. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, man. That could go so many different ways with that guy in the room that you're talking about, right? Because that could be like the power broker, and maybe he's kind of doing some kind of thing where it's like, I'm going to protect you from these people that are trying to harm you. And then
that could be it. And maybe even that's how Walker's involved, or he could just be on a revenge kick.
Yeah.
Or maybe he's just trying to prove himself, trying to get some redemption.
The power broker?
No, Walker.
Maybe
he will actually help Sam and Bucky.
Yeah. I don't know. That's cool. That I actually would like that a lot.
I would too. I think that what's been great about this character is that John Walker has had those moments where he seems kind of likable, but obviously he's had those moments too where he's like just so tense and on the edge that he makes these mistakes.
Yeah.
So it's again, much like everything in the show, it's a very great character. And on the opposite end of the spectrum, I remember originally stating, that Carly started out being a very great character. She is just like totally flipped to the dark side. She's flat out villain at this point,
Yeah. So she's probably going to go down, and probably John Walker's going to be involved with that. And it's kind of cool because when he was testifying and when he was like fighting with Sam and with Bucky, he was like so much like Kurt Russell. It just blew my mind. His voice was like just like Kurt Russell, Yeah. Some of these actors that, their fathers were actors, it's like they're almost like a copy of them, like, Michael Douglas and like Kirk Douglas,
Yeah, absolutely.
But I was going to say, I had one other theory based on your guy in the room thing too.
Okay.
But it's totally like, I'm just a comic book nerd just being like, oh, wouldn't this be cool? But like, wouldn't that be cool if it was Norman Osborn, right? And it's like, he is the power broker because of the serum. In the Ultimate Comics, Norman Osborn has worked on that exact serum,
That is very true, and it has gone wrong for him, obviously. I mean, we have to get Norman Osborn at some point in something.
Yeah.
It's a great character, and I mean, I still stand by that. I love the Willem Dafoe version. I don't think we're going to get that ever again. But we haven't seen it, and we haven't seen him in the MCU, and he is a big player post. Was it post Secret Invasion?
Yes.
Yeah. So with Hammer and the Siege storyline and all that, we have to get him. He has to be used at some point.
Yeah. There hasn't been any rumors or anything about like a major character being in this last episode or like another cameo or anything like that, right?
Yeah. No.
Okay.
The only cameo I heard about was the one that ended up being. I mean, I believe it was supposed to be Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Okay. Yeah. So then I guess for this episode, the only other major thing I wanted to talk about was Sam going back to see what's his face? Not Eli, Isaiah Bradley. Yeah. But Eli was there. I saw in the captions. Yeah. It said like Eli in the caption that he was talking to him. So I
mean, cool. He called him by name too. So
okay. Yeah. So that scene was great, and I'm pretty sure that the actor that plays Isaiah, he's the guy that played Mantis, right, in the '90s. Remember that show, Mantis?
Yeah. Is it Carl Lumbly?
I think so. Yes.
Who I believe is also the voice of Martian Manhunter.
Okay. Yeah, he is fantastic.
Yeah, he's great.
He's so good in this, and he was good in Mantis, and and Martian Manhunter is fantastic too.
Yeah.
So what'd you think of that whole sequence?
I'm speaking about the Justice League animated cartoon version of
right.
Because there's been a few people that have played Martian Manhunter at this point.
Yeah. And they've always been like, oh, go ahead, I'm sorry. They've always been like really awesome African American actors too.
Yes.
Yeah.
And actually, there was a Seinfeld alum that played one of them in played one version of Smallville.
Get out of town.
Jackie Giles was John Jones in Smallville.
Holy shit! And Seinfeld takes place in New York. It's all coming together. Multiverse 616. 616 is it's the diner. That's the address of the diner.
Oh man,
that's right. All right. So what were you gonna say about this scene?
I love the scene. It was really good, and I remember calling out like two specific moments earlier in the first two episodes where they were very socially relevant scenes that at the time felt a little ham-fisted. I think
sure
about racial commentary.
Yes.
Sam with the bank, and then Sam and Bucky with the police officers after they first spoke with Isaiah.
Yeah.
This was, as I thought, like. It's just more set up for Sam to finally accept assuming the mantle of Captain America. This is someone who could have done it and doesn't want it and doesn't think a black man should be Captain America because he doesn't believe in the symbol or the country or anything like that. Yeah. And I think this is just more reason for Sam to do it to prove him wrong.
Hell yeah.
that a black man can be Captain America, and goddamn, he has proved it to me. Like in this show, he absolutely should be Captain America. He's been fantastic.
Yeah, Brian. Like last week, you made this great point about how Sam was real serious last week, and he seemed like he could be Captain America in his conversation with Carly. That just continued on into this episode. You know, with his kind of conversations he had with Bucky, and then also when he went to go see Isaiah too. Like that was just right on.
Yeah.
It's interesting, right? Another thing I saw on a news feed was that there's this guy on YouTube, right? His YouTube channel's name is Doomcock, right?
Oh yeah.
He wears like a giant like Doctor Who kind of alien head thing, and he was claiming that like 80% of the audience of Falcon and the Winter Soldier turned off the show on the first episode when the cops pulled the gun on Sam, right? And I'm like, okay, that's just so ridiculous. Like they were saying that there's some kind of thing where you can see like when people turn out of shows and stuff, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, I just kind of brought that up because I just wanted to say Doomcock, first of all. But but like people don't understand. They think that like the idea of like racial injustice and politics in comics, it's just like it's not a thing, and that Disney has an agenda. But the entire Sam Wilson Captain America run is so political, and it's so like involving racial injustices and the idea of Sam Wilson being this black Captain America, And I think that considering how like non-real world the Marvel movies have been, this show has done a really good job of kind of addressing those points. But still
grounding in reality, I think.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to get at. Yeah. Because, when you have these kind of movies where there's like a big purple alien guy that can snap a gauntlet and erase humanity, like that's so far-fetched and ridiculous. And then to kind of tie it back into like, obviously this show is very much inspired by Black Lives Matter, like it's weird to connect those two worlds, but this show is somehow able to do that. And the Captain America comics for like at least a decade have been that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally agree there. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I might have misquoted myself a couple of episodes back where I said that it was Nick Spencer's run where Sam becomes Cap. It's not. It's actually with Rick Remender at the end of his Captain America run. That's when Sam becomes Cap.
Yeah. I thought Nick Spencer had the Hydra Cap, the Steve Rogers Hydra Cap, right?
Right. There was two books going on simultaneously. There was two Captain America books, and one was the Sam one, and one was the Steve Rogers Hydra Cap.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. Okay, so that's good. And I still want to talk about Isaiah Bradley, though, too. But one last thing is, could the Countessa be kind of trying to recruit John Walker to be like a Hydra Cap? You know what I'm saying?
That's an excellent point as well. That's a very high possibility, I think. That there's so many ways that can go. But I don't think that we will see that play out here. I think that's going to happen in some other show or a movie later on.
Okay.
Not enough space in an hour to wrap all this up.
No, definitely not. So let me ask you this then. So what do you think? Like, was there anything else you wanted to add about the whole Isaiah situation and Eli?
I don't think so. No.
Okay. Yeah, it's great that they're actually kind of able to build up Isaiah's character before we introduce Eli on the Young Avengers, right? Like it's good to kind of get that legacy built up right now.
Yeah. Otherwise he's just a kid with a shield, really, but knowing that history and that his grandfather was a super soldier, it really adds to the character.
Yeah. I'm just super excited for when it's all going to come together for Young Avengers,
Yeah. I'm excited for that, too. And I hope that the general public takes to it as well.
Yeah, hell yeah. So, dude, what you got anything else for this episode, or should we move on to our part 2 of our show?
The only other thing, I mean, this is like so far-fetched, and I don't think it's going to happen, but I have to ask.
Sure.
I asked this in the first episode, too. Do we think Steve Rogers is dead or not?
That's a really good question.
Sam says that he is gone. Now, does that mean he's gone as a superhero or he's actually dead? And if he is alive, will we potentially see him in this episode?
In this last episode,
that's something we want to see. Like, do you? I would want to see it. I don't think it will happen.
I don't think he's dead. I don't think we're going to see him, though. I think they might be saving him for something bigger. I think like they don't really know what to do with him exactly. And I think that if they showed him now, unless he did something really important, it would just be like, oh, we have him. Let's just stick him in this, you know? And I don't think they should bring him out yet.
That's an excellent point. Okay, yeah. You have changed. I mean, I didn't think we were going to see him, but now I'm pretty sure we will not, based on that. You're right. If they're going to bring him back, it needs to be for something big.
Yeah,
because like not for a gratuitous cameo.
Right, that's exactly what it'd be. Because like, what would he do? Like, would he just kind of come out and be like, "Good job, Sam," and then that's like the end, you know?
Yeah.
So if they brought him back to like what would be real fucking awesome, right? Is if we're a couple movies down the road, maybe a couple of shows down the road, and like Sam or even Bucky is in like a really tight situation, like things are real dark and grim, and then he just shows up to like offer some advice or something, and no one knows he's going to show up. That'll be awesome.
Yeah,
like something like that, you know. But I don't think he's dead.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Yeah. Cool. All right, well, one more episode to go, man.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm pumped for the finale.
Yeah. So like I said, guys, if you like mine and Brian's live reviews, make sure that you subscribe to our new channel, Ramblings in the Rod Pod. We're going to keep doing Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I got to talk to Brian about this more, but I think we're actually going to skip the Bad Batch because I don't really think we should like do a live show of that. But what I do think we should do is I think that when Jupiter's Legacy comes out, I think we should like take that apart and do like a weekly show, doing a couple episodes each time. What do you think? And then we just ride that until Loki.
Yeah, and you know what? I think we maybe should throw Invincible in there somewhere. I mean, that's been streaming. I haven't watched it yet, actually. I would really like to.
Dude, I haven't watched. There's so much content out there right now. It's ridiculous, right? Because it's like there's the friggin' Nevers show too that I kind of want to watch.
And then, I want to watch that too.
Yeah. And then there's this show come on Netflix called Shadow and Bone. Have you seen like commercials for that? Or
I have not seen that yet. No.
Yeah, I know that like Netflix was kind of looking for like a Game of Thrones type show. And
oh yes. Okay. Now I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But I might end up covering that one for the Anchorpete channel. We'll see. But for Ramblings with the Rod Pod, we're definitely going to do Jupiter's Ascending. I mean, no, not Jupiter's Ascending.
God, no.
Not that one. No, we're going to do Jupiter's Legacy, and then we'll be on to Loki after that. Yeah. So, but we're not done, guys. We actually are going to talk about New Mutants.
Yes, which is not a new movie, but it's new to us because it just popped up on HBO Max.
Hell yeah. So what you guys might not know, but you probably can guess, is that Brian and I are actually huge X-Men fans. Like we, grew up in the 90s. Essentially, we were born in the 80s, but grew up in the 90s. And we love the X-Men comic and the cartoons from the 90s. And would you say that out of the 13 X-Men movies that you like more than you dislike?
Absolutely.
Okay. At the end of this episode, we're going to rank the X-Men movies too.
Okay.
Yeah. So, Brian, right off the bat, would you say that this would be higher on your list though, or lower? New Mutants.
I am going to say that this it is higher on my list than I expected it would be.
Okay. That's I could say the same. Yeah.
And I'm kind of getting a vibe that maybe we're going to disagree here, but I actually like the movie.
I liked it. So spoilers for New Mutants, by the way. I liked it, but I did feel like it was kind of generic and that I could kind of predict everything that was going to happen.
Oh, of course. Yes. You could. Yes, you could predict everything that was going to happen. I don't feel it was super rooted in any detailed way on any comic run. I mean, yes, the whole Demon Bear thing, but it was barely associated with that. It was just really that villain was there, you know?
Yeah.
And it had nothing to do with the storyline that is famous.
Yeah. I would say that, like, there was nothing outright bad. There was nothing where I'm like, oh, I don't like that. I did like everything. I liked the actual New Mutants characters. It just, the movie was like so like stripped down, and there was like almost like nothing really to it. You know, it's just like the characters, and there's like only 6 people in the whole movie, really.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like very basic what happens to them too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I liked it that it was. It seemed as if they took some characters that had all had a traumatic birth of their powers. You know, they had a traumatic experience there, and they were. It was kind of like an examination of grief and you know, overcoming it.
Yeah.
Or trauma, really, and not grief, trauma.
Yeah.
And I like that all the characters had that in common, and that's how they looped them together. I don't necessarily feel that really represents the comics with these characters, but it was an interesting take, and it was something different than we've seen. You know, it's sort of showing. I mean, outside of like, I guess Rogue in the X-Men movies, you know, they don't really ever say. Oh, I guess maybe Jean too. You know, most people don't end up killing someone when their powers manifest for the first time, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I thought it was interesting. And then, you know, eventually you get to the point where it's like the whole time you're thinking that, oh, this is a good place, and they're going to go join the X-Men afterwards. But, you know, ultimately that was not what was going to happen had the events not unfolded as they did.
Yeah. Yeah. And what this could have been actually excites me a lot, because I actually did some research into the backstory of this, right? Because first of all, they proposed this movie in 2015, you know, and we're just seeing it in 2020. So it's been, you know, shelved, and they didn't know what to do with it for a while. But the guy that directed it, his name's Josh Boone. Have you ever heard of him?
Yes. At the time, I remember reading, I think I've seen one of his previous movies, or wait, that's not the guy that did Chronicle, is it?
No. That's Josh Trank.
Josh Trank. Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, he did Van Forstic. Okay.
Right. So Josh Boone did The Fault in Our Stars, right?
Okay.
But besides that, he also did the Stand miniseries that just came out that, like, me and Danny and, you know, Sherry and stuff and Athena would review. And, you know, we weren't actually big fans of that, but he kind of wrote the movie with his Brian. You know, he had his old, you know, his friend, you know, from many ages, and his friend's name was Nate Lee, and Nate wrote the Jackass movie Bad Grandpa, and then he also wrote a bunch of episodes of The Stand too, and Josh Boone directed episodes of The Stand. And so the thing is, though, is that they were huge fans of the New Mutants comics, and they wanted James McAvoy to be in the movie as well, playing Professor X.
Mm-hmm.
And then besides that, they were also going to have him. It was going to be a trilogy, right? And the second movie was going to have Warlock, who's a member of the New Mutants, right? And an alien. And it was going to be like an alien invasion type movie.
Interesting.
Yeah, each one was going to be a horror movie, right? This first one was like a surreal kind of, you know, what's going on? Are we losing our sanity kind of horror movie? The second one was going to be an alien invasion horror movie, probably with the Phalanx, right?
Yep.
And then the third one was going to be like an apocalyptic horror movie, and it was going to be like based on Inferno from the X-Men comics.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah. Isn't that cool?
Yeah, no, I felt there was a lot of potential here, and I know that's it. Like, you know, we're not, you know, I was satisfied enough, I guess, you know, but I feel like there could have been something here, and I mean, I enjoyed the people they cast in these characters. I think it was well acted. I was a little confused by Dr. Reyes, because, I mean, Cecilia Reyes is just a human, right?
No, she's a mutant. Yes, she showed up in during the storyline called Operation Zero Tolerance. Which, do you know Bastion from the X-Men comics?
Yeah, of course.
So like Bastion, like I guess in like maybe the not early 2000s, but like maybe mid 90s. It was like after Onslaught and stuff. Yep. He would turn people into Sentinels, and they would just start hunting mutants before their powers activated. And she was one of them.
Then who am I mixing? Who's the human doctor that helps that's on like with the X-Men then?
Dude, they have like at least like one or two of them. One is like an Indian woman, and she was like on that X. What was it? There was like that team of like super smart doctors. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh,
like,
yes, I do know what you're talking about. I don't remember the name they called them.
Yeah. It stinks, right? Because guys, in the comics, the X-Men have changed like so radically recently that like I think that Brian and I are so used to this new version of the X-Men written by Jonathan Hickman, and that you start to forget like what it was like beforehand.
Yeah, I mean the X-Men kind of go through a whole reboot, soft reboot or hard reboot.
Yeah,
they've done it many times.
Yeah,
and just the more recent one is a bit more radical, and it's been one of the more interesting ones in our opinion.
Yeah. I like you said our opinion because we're like,
oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. I know you agree with me on that.
Yes. So she in the comics was a character that could make shields and stuff like she does in this movie.
Okay, so I was mixing her up with someone else, and I'm gonna have to look up who I thought that was.
Yeah,
I can't remember.
The thing is, she's a good character in the comics. So she's not a villain, but in this movie, she's pretty much a villain.
Yeah, although she only turns into a villain after she's given orders from the Essex Corporation, which is again we've seen the Essex Corporation name dropped in was it
Apocalypse,
which is Nathaniel Essex, Mr. Sinister, and I would love to have seen that character at some point. I really would have.
Yeah, man.
And I'm disappointed in that, but at the same time, like, and I mean, I hope this isn't spoiling our discussion later, but I mean, Dark Phoenix was like a real bad movie.
Oh yeah.
Well, it was a real bad way to end off the X-Men movies. I mean, and I think this is a better way to end them off for me because I kind of enjoyed this movie. I had such a bad rap.
Yeah,
and I mean, I get that it's kind of generic and not that much happens, but I mean, it's a 90-minute movie. I enjoy it for the fact that it was a 90-minute movie, and I liked it more than I expected.
Yeah. Oh no, I did too. I actually really liked Roberto. Like who's Sunspot in the comics.
Yeah.
But I think probably the standout for me was actually Illyana Magic.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. It's amazing that X-Men seems to the X-Men the last time the X-Men movies got kind of rebooted. This was almost intended to be another reboot in a way,
Right.
And the last time they did this with the First Class movie, they got Jennifer Lawrence like right before she like blew up, and Anna Taylor-Joy has since blown up really with like the Queen's Gambit and what was there's some movie too that she was in that I think was highly rated.
Yeah. Well, she's been in a bunch of movies. Like, I think there's one that I'm not thinking of that it's like her big movie, but absolutely the Queen's Gambit, like you said. And it's kind of funny because she's in Split with James McAvoy, right?
Oh, that's right. She is.
Yeah. She's in a ton of things. She's also in The Witch, which The Witch is like one of my favorite horror movies of the past like 5 or 6 years. It's a really good, disturbing movie. But
it seems like her star is like on like it's starting to really blow up at this point.
I completely agree. Yeah, every one of the New Mutants characters is well cast and is great. I think that it's kind of funny that like half the people in this movie, or actually more than half, are not doing their original accent, right? Yes. And it kind of shows. I think that Maisie Williams does a good job as Wolfsbane, but her accent kind of comes and goes. And what do you call it? I think Sam, his accent kind of comes and goes too a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it was so weird with the first time I heard that actor speak in an interview. From Stranger Things, I had no idea he was British. Like, no idea.
Yeah, and I actually really like him in Stranger Things too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's great. Yeah, no, I like that the whole cast. Like you said, it's only 6 people in the movie, which is kind of weird. But I like the Buffy references in this movie too. Like, they first showed the scene with like Tara and Willow when they like first getting together, and then there was the whole thing like semi relationship with Rain and Danny, which I don't think was a thing in the comics.
No, I don't think. As far as I know, I don't think that Rain was a lesbian in the comics at all. I know
also
that, like,
seems a little odd because she's very Catholic in the comics. She's very much, very religious.
Yeah, yeah. In the comics, there's always been that thing, like her Catholicism, where she has always felt like a freak and like a demon because she turns into this wolf creature, right?
Yeah.
But the lesbian thing, I don't think was in the comics. I know, like during Peter David's X Factor run in the 1990s, she was like obsessed with Havoc. Like she had a crush on him.
Yeah.
But I mean, with the X-Men characters, their sexual preferences and like who they're into shifts dramatically. Like Iceman is a good example of that, right? Where it's a character from the 60s, but then just in the last 10 years, they'd be like, oh, he's actually a gay man, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I realize that there's evidence that can support that, but I still to this day hate how that was revealed.
Oh yeah.
Because I hated the young X-Men brought to the future storyline. I hated that so much.
Yeah, and what Brian's talking about is there's this one writer, Brian Michael Bendis, who I've read a shit ton of Brian Michael Bendis' work, but like he's the one that wrote that New Avengers comic I was talking about.
His early work career is fantastic, absolutely. But eventually, I just I don't know, turned a page or something. I mean, I haven't read much of his DC work recently. Not great. Okay, yeah, but this was literally like the worst thing that I've read. I can't say it's the worst thing I've read for X-Men. It's one of the most worst things in recent X-Men history.
Yes. Yeah, and I mean, maybe we should even just explain it real quick so people know what the fuck we're talking about. But like, he just did this thing where like he took the X-Men characters that were from the 1960s, like Cyclops, Beast, Jean Grey, Iceman, and Angel, and brought them from their original, like when they're teenagers, he brought them to the modern day. And so you had two teams of X-Men. You had like the modern older version, and then you had the teen version. And it just was like so annoying to have this young team. And you always thought that they were going to go back in time, but it just kept going on and on.
Yeah,
and on.
so like it would have been okay if it was a one story arc kind of thing, but they kept them around for years.
Yeah.
I bought the book when they finally got sent back. I bought that because I knew they were going to get sent back, and I had to witness it.
Yeah. So I mean, the X-Men in the comics, it can be kind of rough, and there are times when you don't like what's going on. But with the movies themselves, it's kind of interesting, right? Because it essentially got rebooted, like you said, with First Class, right? And the whole franchise was around for almost 20 years, right? Right, because the first one's in 2000. This one just came out technically in 2020, even though it was ready to be distributed.
It was essentially filmed in like 2016.
Yeah. So, but it's definitely like there's two halves to this continuity, right? And which half do you think is stronger? Like, do you think pre-First Class is stronger or post-First Class?
Post.
Yeah, it's tough, right? Because Deadpool is in post, and then First Class is one of. I don't want to give away my ranking, but then of course you have X-Men Origins Wolverine, which is before, right? Yeah. Well, we'll get into all this shit when we do our rankings. But
actually, I think there's one thing that I mean, maybe this is like well hashed out in media since this movie came out, but we keep mentioning it that the movie was filmed so early and got released so late, and we should probably explain why that happened.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So it kept getting shelved because they were just the studios just weren't happy with it or for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And then or they said it wasn't scary enough. And then I think there was the success of it, and they wanted to go back and film, reshoot some scenes and make it scarier. But so much time had passed by the time they got around to doing it that the actors had aged so much that they just didn't look like them anymore. So they just literally could not do it.
Yeah.
And they basically released it as it was originally made years later.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Isn't it? And speaking of it being like horror influenced, or that they wanted to be more horror influenced, don't you think it's very similar to A Nightmare on Elm Street, The Dream Warriors?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Right, because it's got like a bunch of kids living in an institution, and they have powers, like in their dreams, and they have powers in Dream Warriors.
Yeah, and this place they have powers in the real world.
Yeah, and instead of Freddy, it's like their nightmares are a bear. Yeah. but like I didn't actually know Danny Moonstar's powers. I had to look him up after this movie.
I did too.
Yeah.
And I think that works too, because I mean it's our powers are kind of ambiguous in a way, almost, you know. So I think the fact that the whole movie is trying to figure out what our powers are, and she's essentially the cause of the conflict in the movie, unintentionally.
Yeah. You've seen Moana, right?
Of course.
Okay. Didn't you think that the last scene was very reminiscent of Moana, with like the demon bear coming at her, and she's going towards the demon bear, and she like pets it, right? Yep. It's just like this last scene of Moana. Yeah. So anyway, I think, you know, just to kind of wrap things up and stuff, we should go talk about our X-Men rankings. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely.
So do you want to go first? Or do you want me to go first?
Am I going through a whole list? Or you want to go back and forth a little bit here, or
okay. Let's not go into like a lot of detail about each one, but like maybe we should talk about like why we ranked them so low or why we ranked them so high.
Okay.
So like the middle ones we don't have to talk about as much, but like the real low ones maybe we'll talk about. But yeah, why don't you tell me the lowest X-Men movie on your list?
Okay, so I have a slight caveat here. My lowest is X3, because I hated that movie. And there were so many dumb scenes that I hated, and I just didn't like it at all. Okay. But I haven't seen it in a while, and I did see Dark Phoenix, which was also horrible. It was just a bad movie. It was just not fun. And I really I could almost tie them for worst movie at the same time there, but I did write down X3 as the bottom one.
Oh shit. Okay. I don't have it as my bottom, but since you said that it ties with Dark Phoenix, that is my lowest ranking X-Men movie. Okay. And I actually just watched Dark Phoenix today. I'd never seen it, but I had to for our show, and I had like no desire to see it when I saw the trailers, when I'd heard about it. I was like, they're really doing X3 again, and it looks super generic. So yeah.
Yeah, it sucks because the Dark Phoenix is one of the greatest comic stories and X-Men stories ever, and they just screwed it up twice. They just didn't do it right twiess. You know,
it's the same.
And that means we're not gonna get it done right like in our lifetimes. You know,
probably not. No, yeah. And that movie, it's so weird because we were talking about New Mutants being generic. That movie's super generic, and you can predict everything. And the music in particular, I felt was just so like monotone and boring. It's like da, na, na, na.
I don't even remember the music. I mean, I walked out of that theater being like, wow, that was pretty bad. Yes, I saw that in the theater. Oh God. The one positive thing I have to say about that movie is that although the villains were lame, it was lame. The idea that they are the survivors of the planet, the initial planet that Jean destroyed as the Phoenix, was kind of a cool, deep cut nod kind of thing. But I would so much rather have some other well-known villain that hasn't been done or even could be redone, that I was at the same time disappointed.
Yeah.
It's like, why couldn't it be the Shi'ar? Why couldn't Jessica Chastain be Lilandra?
Yeah. I have no idea. I think that they were saying that they initially wanted them to be the Skrull, and then like they couldn't do it because Marvel got the Skrull back eventually for Captain Marvel.
Yeah,
I heard something like that.
Well, no, yeah, exactly, yeah.
I mean, there's a few things I liked. I like that Nightcrawler at one point teleports one of the aliens right in front of a train. I thought that was pretty cool. And I like
that Cyclops uses his powers and does things.
Yeah, that's always good too. Yeah. And you know, I like that dynamic between Professor X and in both versions, the James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender, or the Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen. I love both versions of that.
Again, yes, I do like the dynamic those characters have, but at the same time, it's like we didn't need it every single movie, and I extremely grew tired of the trio of, you know, Charles, Eric, and Mystique. I was just done. I there was no need to have them in this movie, you know?
Yeah. And the way that they killed Mystique too is pretty lame.
Yeah.
Well, so what's your number 12 then?
Well, 12 and 13 would be X3 and Dark Phoenix.
Okay. So I
could swap them in a heartbeat. I have not seen Dark Phoenix since the theater. So that was 2 years ago at this point. So
yeah. All right. Well, then my 12, I think I rank it lower than The Last Stand. My 12 is X-Men Origins Wolverine.
That is my 11.
Okay. Okay.
I think there are some good moments in this movie. Yes, I think I love the whole opening sequence of Logan and Sabretooth and Victor just like going through history and fighting the wars. That was awesome.
Yes.
I think Liv Schreiber was great as Sabretooth. I enjoyed that. I think but as the movie went on, like why they shoehorn in Gambit. What they did to Deadpool was horrible.
Oh my god!
The whole fight at the end, it was just dumb. Like the whole point of the movie was just dumb.
Yeah.
And there are some things that I liked about it, but overall, it's just a bad movie.
Yeah. It's just it's like overall, it's very silly. Like the decisions that they make. You're like, why are you doing this? It's just to fit certain characters in, and it doesn't make a lot of sense. So
actually, before you get to the next one, is that your 11?
That was my 12.
12. Okay, so tell me your 11. Then I want to say something.
11 is X-Men Apocalypse.
Okay. So my 11 is, as I said, it was Wolverine Origins, and I actually kind of ranked. You remember how you asked me this earlier on? If I thought more of them were good than bad?
Yes.
I actually have those three as just bad. Just bad movies.
Yeah.
So now you're talking about Apocalypse is your 11. Okay.
Yeah. So for me, I feel like Apocalypse is a bad movie though too. Like I would actually put my 10 through 13 I'd consider bad movies. I just think okay, so here's the thing. A lot of stuff we're probably going to say tonight are things that many people have said many times. But the thing is, the reason why they are said is because they're so true. And I think that you have Oscar Isaac playing Apocalypse, and he just looks like fucking Ivan Ooze. And that's
some of the worst costume design I've. Oh God!
It's just like I think one of the most disturbing things when you watch a movie is when it's wasted potential. And Oscar Isaac is a fantastic actor. I've actually seen like a bust or whatever that someone made for this movie. Like they were working on this movie, and it looked like the freaking Apocalypse from the cartoon and the comics, and they didn't use it. And I'm like, why did they go with this?
I remember something about Apocalypse has those cables that go on his back to his arms, and what they did something weird with those cables, like they're totally unnecessary they go in his neck or something now, something weird like that. It was one of the worst costumes or character designs I've seen in any of these superhero movies.
Yeah, and this is a character that is so epic and so iconic in the comics. His presence is it's like Thanos or something, where it's like, oh, this is a big deal, and it's this guy. And he played him almost like Emperor Palpatine or something, where he's kind of more frail, but he has a power inside. Whereas Apocalypse is just so in your face and so arrogant, and that character did not exude that at all.
Yeah, I'll agree there. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you also introduce Psylocke, who's one of my favorite Marvel characters, period, and then one of my favorite X-Men, definitely. And she looks like Psylocke, but she doesn't
they nailed that costume. I'll tell you that.
yeah. And then Angel's just useless in it, and Storm. I like who they have to play Storm, and she's good in Dark Phoenix too. But just I don't know. It's just these movies. It's like they don't have depth to them. It's almost like they're checking off a box or something.
Yeah, it's wasted potential, and I actually I have this movie a little bit higher.
Okay.
But you're right. It's absolutely wasted potential. There's some bad in there. I have this ranked as okay in the okay category. It's like there's major flaws, but I got some small enjoyment out of it in some parts.
Yeah.
And maybe even a little more so than I did with Wolverine Origins. But overall, yeah, it's not great.
Okay. Well, then I'm curious to hear what the next one on your list is then.
I have The Wolverine, and I actually kind of liked this movie.
Yeah.
Up until the very end, which I thought was terrible. The whole movie is essentially, Wolverine in Japan. And I really liked all of that. But it just goes off the rails. I mean, after it goes off the rails in the third act, essentially, with Vipers in this.
Yeah.
And wow, what's the guy's name?
Silver Samurai?
Is it Silver Samurai? Is it whoever? He was trying to steal Wolverine's powers to make him young again, or whatever it was. It just went. It got so ridiculous, and it just felt so out of left field, and it ruined the movie. It really did. They could have. If they would have went a more of a Logan route and kept it a little more grounded and just with the
Yakuza?
Yeah, with the Yakuza stuff, I think it would have been a much better movie.
Yeah, I agree. It once you get past that sequence where he's fighting a town filled with ninjas, once you get past that, then it's a little too over the top and ridiculous.
Yeah, then I hate the movie. Yes, and I have to especially point out that there's a director's cut or some special version or whatever like that has a crazy extended ninja fight scene that is awesome and should be watched.
Okay, all right. Maybe I'll check that out at some point. Yeah.
Yeah, and then above that, that's where I have Apocalypse at 9.
Okay. So I actually have the Wolverine as my number 9, and my number 10 was X-Men: The Last Stand. Okay. So then, if we're going past the Wolverine, then my New Mutants is after that for me.
Yeah. I have the next category is movies I thought were good.
Okay.
And I have this was a rough area to kind of categories, but I would feel better just lumping all the movies that I have in this little grouping together.
Do it.
I have both Deadpools, New Mutants, and the first X-Men all in this range.
Oh, okay.
And I think I thought they were good, and I enjoyed them for the most part.
Okay.
Minor exception.
Okay, so can you just run through the numbers real quick?
Sure. So I have it as Deadpool 2 is 8, X-Men is 7, New Mutants is 6, Deadpool is 5.
Okay.
But I'm not totally married to that order. I could probably change that. I haven't watched some of these in a while, so.
That's interesting. Okay. So that's it's kind of parallel, but I put one in here. This is where we're probably going to disagree. So going from after New Mutants, then I have Deadpool 2 as 7.
Okay.
I have X-Men: Days of Future Past as 6. Probably got to disagree with me on that one. Yeah. See your face.
Oh yeah.
Then for number 5, I have the original X-Men. Then for number 4, I have Deadpool.
Okay.
So that's where we're seeing some contention. So it's interesting. Why do you rank the first movie so low?
I don't see it as being low. I just think it feels a little dated.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And it was great at the time because it was just, oh my God, it's the X-Men and it's not terrible,
Yeah.
But there are some dumb things in that movie, and there are some generic things in that movie, and there are some tropes that they kind of applied to the X-Men from that movie that I kind of didn't really like,
The costumes.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And Wolverine being the main character in all of them.
Yeah. I mean, and I absolutely love Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, absolutely. But Cyclops is a background character pretty much for the most part. Although that's probably the most Jason Marsden gets to do in any of the X-Men movies.
Yeah. Right. Good point.
But yeah, I think that there's a lot of great casting in it, and it's great, and it was great at the time. But I think it hasn't aged as well as I would have liked.
Yeah, I mean, it's freaking 21 years old at this point.
Yeah.
And I remember like being at my friend's house and we had to like wait for the trailer to download to watch it. And we're sitting there for like a half hour waiting for it to download. Like, oh my God, we're gonna watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you can go in the bathroom and like pop up your phone and just watch it. It's like if you're at work or something like that. Oh no, did you drop out? Oh no. Pete's frozen. Can people still see me? I hope not.
Oh. Are there?
Oh, thank God. Yeah, I'm here. Yes.
Okay. Well, that might be a sign. I might need to kind of wrap this up kind of soon, too.
Okay. Let's go through this lightning round. Okay.
Lightning round. So why don't we do our top 3 then, right? Because are we at our top 3 now?
Well, I didn't get through. I'm at 4 right now. So at 4, I have First Class.
Ooh. Okay. Do 4 through 1. I want to see this.
4 through 1. So 4 is First Class. 3 is X2.
Okay.
And then 2 is Logan.
Okay.
And then 1 is, well, you can figure out what 1 is now.
Wait, what am I? Days of Future Past?
I have that as my favorite. Yeah.
Holy shit. Okay. So wow. All right. Let's look at our differences here. 4, I have Deadpool. 3, X2. So we're on the same page as that.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
2, Logan. Right. We're on the same page as that.
Yep.
And then number 1, I have First Class.
Okay.
Interesting. Okay.
I'm curious why you had Days of Future Past so low. Actually, I mean, I know it vastly deviates from the actual X-Men story. It's very different.
Yeah. Well, looking at my list right now, I'm this discussion with you. I feel like I could flip Days of Future Past, have it as my number 5, and put X-Men as my number 6. Right.
Okay.
And maybe I could even switch it out with Deadpool. But I feel like the thing with Deadpool, X2, Logan, and X-Men First Class is that unlike many comic book movies, and unlike most of the movies that are on this list, I have like genuine emotions watching these movies to where I care about the characters. I'm following the story. Like the story is important to me. And Days of Future Past is good. And a lot of it is like that. But I just feel like Deadpool, it's much more focused on him. I feel like X2 is like just this great, tight X-Men story. It's really good.
Yep.
Logan is a friggin' masterpiece.
Yep.
And First Class has some of my favorite moments in any comic book movie ever. So I think, and then I know I'm talking a lot, but in First Class, probably the main reason why is the scenes with Magneto. Those scenes with Magneto are like some of my favorite things I've ever seen before. Where he has the coin and he makes it go through Shaw's head.
Yeah.
Just they have this music that's specific for Magneto in that movie, and it's so good. It's so well done.
Essentially, to me, that's obviously is the beginning of the Charles Eric Raven triangle, and I think it was excellent. It was an absolutely fantastic movie, and it revitalized this franchise. We wouldn't have gotten so many movies. We wouldn't have probably gotten Deadpool at all, and or anything if not for that movie. Yes. Because X-Ray like sunk it to me. Wolverine Origins sunk it too. So, it is great, but I felt that the groundwork they laid there, and then followed through with Days of Future Past. I love that movie, and I know that, like I said, they changed it drastically from the comic, Yeah, and again, they focus all on Wolverine too, But I liked the mixing of the two worlds, the previous and the newer version.
Yes,
and I really felt the positions that Charles, Eric, and Raven were put in, and because of that movie, and I really enjoyed that a lot.
Okay. All right. That's good. I mean, the thing is, man, is that when I talk to you, you kind of sway how I feel. So you're kind of making me bring it up higher on my list. I will say this. there might be a reason why I don't rank it as high, or I don't have as strong a feeling as you do. The trailer for that movie is so fucking good. The trailer for Days of Future Past. The music,
I remember it.
dude, once we finish talking tonight, go watch that. Because the trailer, the music they choose, the way it syncs up, it is so good. And I feel like maybe I was expecting that, and the movie wasn't as good as the trailer. And I know that's lame. I know that's a cop-out. It still is a really good movie. And it's cool to see like the future stuff and kind of like, oh, this is how one way it could end for these characters. Maybe I don't like the 60s stuff as much, that might be it. But I don't know. It does. It's sad because it's such a drop in quality between that one and Apocalypse too.
Yeah, it definitely is. Yeah.
Because they were on this great trajectory. And then it's kind of sad too, because like then you have this happy ending in the end of Days of Future Past, and then it's essentially worn away by Logan, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
With Apocalypse, it felt like that's where I started to feel that Magneto shouldn't have been in the movie.
Yeah,
he shouldn't have been in the movie, and they should have focused on that newer cast. With the younger Cyclops and Sansa Stark as Jean Grey and all that. They should focus more on those characters.
Yeah. I mean, and the thing is, man, is that we could go through each one of these and like talk about them in depth,
Yep.
But it's a little ambitious for us to go through the whole thing.
Maybe we'll have some, maybe if Marvel takes a huge break in content, we'll have something to fall back on.
Yeah, maybe. I like that. And one time, Brian and I actually recorded like a Transformers commentary where we watched Transformers the movie. And I think we could do something like that, but maybe we could do it for the X-Men movies or something at one point.
Yeah, I'm down for that.
Yeah, cool, man. Well, I actually got to get going because I know me and my wife.
Your connection's going to die.
Yeah, that too. And I think Sherry T and I have to go watch something to go review on the Anchorpete channel. But if you guys have not subscribed to Ramblings from the Rod Pod, please do. And Brian, I will see you here next week for the end of Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
I'm excited. See you then.